good people? It's your folk Jay Kim with another episode of In the Car with My People. On this episode, we're once again going to go away from our normal format of interviewing in the car, and we're going to head up to Roberts, Kentucky to pay Yusuf a visit. We're going to talk about how his season is going so far, what he's looking forward to for the remainder of the season, and just talk about some everyday normal football topics. Yusuf's team's currently 4-1 and ranked 7th in the state of Kentucky in Class 6A. So come along with me as we take this hour-and-a-half drive to go see Yusuf and see how things are going with the big fella. Welcome to this edition of In the Car with My People. This time we're not in the car. We're actually out in Roberts, Kentucky with Yusuf. And we're just going to talk about, how things are going so far this football season and just kind of check up and check in with Yusuf. Last time we talked to Yusuf, we were doing camps back in the spring. Now we're halfway through his regular season. I just want to check in, see how he's doing, and see what he has planned for himself for the rest of the season. So, first question I'm gonna ask is: all right, you guys are right now 4-1. You guys are ranked 7th in 6A in the state of Kentucky. So far this season, I mean, how are you feeling about how the season is going so far?
I feel good. I feel like we've played as good as we're supposed to be, but I feel like we haven't reached our peak yet, which is also a great thing. No, we've still been able to win games, and we haven't played at our best. We had a couple teams that weren't, at our talent level that we beat, but we also played some great teams. Boyle County, we stuck around that game. Had a couple plays that didn't go our way, but that being our only loss and handling most of our games pretty well, I feel like the season's gone off to a great start.
All right, that's what's up. So, with that said, like I said, the team is 4-1. We talked about back in the spring when you're going through camps, just your excitement about the season starting and you getting back to playing football. Because to be honest, you haven't played like real high level competitive football since 8th grade, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you had the COVID year in 9th grade. You missed all 10th grade with a leg injury. So this is your first year really in 3 years where it's a real football season where you're playing for something. How you feel you playing so far this season?
I feel like I've played good. Not like I said about the team. I think I've played my best, but I feel like I've played good. I'm getting better every single week, which is always a positive. I feel like I've, grown. It's how I grew from the camps I went to, from the beginning, my first camp, to the last camp I went to, and the growth I had between. I feel like between the first game and now, I've grown a lot, so that's good. But I feel like I've played well, but I feel like I could definitely play a lot better. And I'm just waiting to, just keep growing throughout the season and peak at the right time.
All right, that's good. So me watching you play, I feel like you've played at a pretty high level. You can watch the games and like when you watch the film and the highlights and stuff that I put up and the things you see, you can see you applying the stuff that you learned in the camps. You know what I'm saying? The being good with the hands, you know, continue to work on your feet, trying to attach your hands to your feet, which is really important at your position. So the good thing is that I feel like you're getting better. Now I'm gonna go back to the Boyle County game. Uh, in that game, you went against well, I think a top 3 player in the state of Kentucky.
Top 5.
He is top 5 player in Kentucky going to the University of Kentucky, and you're going against him the vast majority of the game. For you, as somebody who aspires to, one day, play Division I college football, what was it like playing against a player of that caliber that early in the season?
It was definitely a challenge. It was a big challenge. Uh, coming into the game, I didn't know what to expect, and that's something you can't really prepare for. You just gotta. It's just when the game arrives, you know how well of a player he is. He's committed to Kentucky. That's obviously something that's going through your head. And I feel like I did all right. I definitely could have done better. He did get me, a few times, but to play against someone at that high level is it's a blessing, really, because I know what I need to do to be able to go to that type of level and know that the guys that I'm gonna go against in the future. So I think it was a great thing. It was definitely a huge challenge for me. Like I said, I think I could have played a lot better because he is a great player. He made plays, but I feel like I held my own for the most part. But I think I played pretty good.
All right. So your team right now is it's a senior laden team, like the vast majority of stars. I think you guys have what 5 or 6 guys who are not seniors that start at the most. I think the whole defense, with the exception of one person that starts, is a senior. How much has it helped you guys be successful to have that many seniors on the team, and how have they helped you guys who are underclassmen play better?
It's definitely huge because they've all been there before. Some of them have been playing since they were a freshman, so they know how all this goes. Last year I feel like I didn't play last year, but I feel like a huge thing was a lot of inexperience. They didn't. There was definitely talent there, but a lot didn't have any experience playing varsity football at the time, and with them all coming back, basically having the same team, except for a few spots, is huge. Having a senior-led team is very important. I feel like they've really helped the younger guys, especially with me, just get over little things. They understand that this year's a big year for them. This is supposed to be a huge year. And I think they did a really good job of making sure that everybody else, understands the agenda. Everybody understands the plan because, it's really it's on them in a way. Our coaches told us we're as good as the seniors lead us to be, and I think so far they've definitely done a great job of making sure we play at the level we're supposed to.
All right, that's good. So, for you in particular, what guys on the team, with you coming off an injury, um, you didn't grow up in this area. You came here in ninth grade. You missed a whole season as a sophomore. What guys have on this team in particular have helped you, and what are some of the things they've done to help you?
I'd say Bryce and Sadiq for sure. Them two. After the season was over with, they was working out with me in the winter for a little bit for a period of time. And I know you've seen the videos of me practicing one on ones with Sadiq and running and conditioning, those type of things, and playing next to Bryce, who's played my position last year. I ask him questions every day. I ask him, what I'm supposed to do. This happens, and he helps me. He definitely does a great job of making sure I'm knowing what I'm supposed to do. But I'd say them two for sure, definitely the ones who's helped me get to where I am.
So another question. Speaking of Bryce and Sadiq is committed to go to Purdue, and Bryce is committed to go to Eastern Kentucky. Have they told you anything about like the recruiting process and what to expect in that?
Really, they just told me go where you feel like you want to be at. Rice told me, EKU was his first offer, and just go where you feel like it's best for you. Bryce's family, I'm pretty sure, lives in Lexington, in that area, so it was a good place for him. And it's a process, but you don't want to rush it. You want to do it. When you feel comfortable, whenever you're ready to commit. But yeah, that's all they've told me.
All right. So now you're about 18 months removed from when you first injured yourself. You're about a year removed from when you first, you were, I guess, not 100%, but you were running and moving. Where do you feel like, from a football standpoint, that you've improved the most from the time that you got injured till now, 5 weeks into the season?
Like where I've improved from.
Just from a football standpoint, just what things you do better now that you compare to where you were a
When I
year and a
was
half
playing,
before you were hurt. Yeah.
I say my physicality is like grew a lot. I've never played, I'd say, this physical in my life. Like I've played, I no, I've always kind of held my own.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of just done my job, but I think now I'm playing at like a physical level. I'm finishing people. I'm doing stuff like that, and I think I've my nastiness as a learning that playing the offensive line position is not like a nice position. You want to be mean, you want to be nasty. I think as time went on, especially when we started playing games, scrimmages, and stuff like that, I really started to do that. I started to do that, and because beforehand, I do it sometimes. I think also, I would say my effort has gotten a lot better in that time period. I think I became a way better. I'm finally fulfilling the potential that I've been told that I have. I feel like I've been told I've had the potential, but I haven't necessarily reached it yet. Or before I was hurt, I feel like I could have done a lot better than I did. And I feel like now I'm starting to really realize and reach the potential that I'm told I can reach.
So since, I guess, springtime, I've talked to you about your own personal goals, but also a team goal, and that you know you guys have all these seniors with all this experience. Why can't you guys win a state championship? You know what I'm saying? I feel like you guys should. I feel like you have the talent to be able to win a state championship. And something I just learned doing some research, like coming from Ohio, I feel like, it's all of these large. I just feel like it's a lot of schools in Ohio, and it's hard to make the playoffs, and it's hard to win championships. But I found out in your class alone, there's only, I think, 37, 38 teams in the entire state in 6A. So almost everybody makes the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not so much making the playoffs, it's about what you do. You make the playoffs. And then I think in the last 15 years in 6A, Trinity, Male, and St. X have won all the state championships except for one. So I'm like, why not you guys be a team that can break that streak? Uh, you guys are currently ranked seventh in the state. Do you feel you guys can win the state championship, and why do you think that?
I 100% think we do. Like we have everything that you need to win. You need a senior led team. We have talent all around. We don't really have like a weak spot anywhere. We have talent at every position. I think we definitely have one of, if not the best D line in the state. We got, Bryce Sadiq. We got Zion, Marks, two, I feel like underrated guys that don't get as much recognition. Those guys are very critical and very huge to the team. We have just a lot of talent. We have a good work ethic, I feel like, all around. I think right now we should know how to gel together. And that's going to be really important during this last stretch, as this week we're going to district games, the games that really matter and the games that count. I feel like we will definitely do what we have to do to win those type of games. And when we go in the playoffs, and we have to play a Louisville team like Male, Trinity, or St. X, I feel like we're gonna be well rounded together. That I feel like we're gonna get to a point where we're gonna ask ourselves, why can't we win a state championship? Because we have everything we need. We have good coaches. We have great players. We have talent. And I feel like everyone get bought in, which I think we are getting to that point. Once we hit the playoffs, no one can really stop us at that point.
The one thing I find interesting is that you guys are 4-1, and outside of the Boyle game, y'all haven't really on the scoreboard played a close game. I think when you blew out the first two teams, y'all put up I think 30 plus points in the first half on the first two.
Mm-hmm.
Then you guys had the Boyle game. It was tied 17-17 with 7 minutes left. And then you had a couple critical turnovers at the end that led to touchdowns. And then against Hardin, Central Hardin was actually beating y'all at halftime. In the second half, y'all blew them out. And then last week, uh, they made it interesting, but they never was really in the game. So you guys have played basically blown out 4 teams and then had the tough loss against Boyle.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you guys have really played a complete game yet. You guys have had a couple slow starts offensively. Um, you guys have given up a couple big plays here and there on defense late in the game. Let guys kind of score late in the game. So you guys haven't played that complete game, but you guys are still winning pretty easily outside, like I said, the Boyle game. What are some of the things you think you guys have to work on these last 5 games of the season, so that when you guys get into the playoffs, that you guys are playing at your highest level, so you guys can make a run in the playoffs?
I think if we, just keep getting better every week. If we keep getting better every week, we're gonna reach our potential. I feel like if we, learn how to dominate and not take, like you said, slow starts, not having to get a slow start to start, making plays and stuff like just to come out the gate, and our coach told us earlier this week, Callaway was, a game that where we just came out and just was going. It didn't take us having a 3 and out or having a punt or giving up a touchdown or being down at halftime to start going. I think that's big because, in those games, especially the playoff games, you can't start slow because, I think that's your season, and if you start slow and you find yourself in a bind where you got to fight all the way back into a game, you might not be able to get back. And I feel like that's huge for us, when we play, these next 5 district games, 4 or 5 district games, is that we just learn how to dominate from the start, not taking a bad first quarter or even a bad series to get going. That's the biggest thing for us. And I feel like if we can learn how to start hot, we'll be just fine.
Cool. So that's kind of like what's going on with your team. So let's talk just some football in general. It's football season. You love football. I love football. So tell us who are your favorite college football teams and who do you root for in the NFL?
My favorite college football is Tennessee. I've been a Tennessee fan for basically my whole life, for basically the most part. NFL team is I don't really have a favorite NFL team. I like the Patriots for a long time because Tom Brady was one of my favorite players. But I just like a lot of players in the league. I just want to see be successful. But I don't really have like a favorite NFL team.
So I'm a Vol fan, just like you've been a Vol fan pretty much my whole life too. Um, so as a Vol Tennessee, most of your life has struggled. Like they've had a couple decent years here and there, but for the most part, we've been a middle of the pack, lower level SEC East team. But right now they're undefeated, but they're about to hit a stretch coming up where they play LSU, Alabama, and Georgia. I think in 3 of the 4 next 4 games or something like that. What do you think their chances are to either run the table with those 3 games or really make them interesting?
I think they can definitely win. At least, honestly, I think the only game that I think they can really make them all interesting. I think they handle Florida pretty handily. They let them get in at the end, but I feel like they really can make things interesting in the SEC East. But I think the most important thing with them is to handle the games that they're supposed to win. a couple years ago, there was a year they beat Florida and Georgia in the same season, but they didn't take care of the other games, keeping them out of the SEC championship talk. Because to beat Georgia and Florida in the same season and still still lose 4 games is still pretty. It's interesting. It's crazy to me, but I think if they take care of, they can take care of because they definitely have talent. I mean, they beat Florida pretty well without their best receiver, and I think if they just limit just stupidity and mistakes like that, I feel like they could really make things interesting. Being ranked in the top 10, and then like I said, handle the teams that they're supposed to beat. But I think they got LSU this next week, maybe. And I think, LSU is a good team, but I think they can handle them. And then I think they got Georgia. They got Georgia. They got Alabama at some point, like in the next couple of weeks. And I think, and the good part is they're playing at Neyland Stadium to play Alabama. And I actually saw a stat today saying the last 4 true road games Alabama's played, they've all been decided by 3 or less points. So that's a huge. I feel like if they can take advantage of playing at home, they're already a good team, and I feel like they could make things really interesting.
I think one thing that's really helping Tennessee this year is that they've got a quarterback who could play good last year. I think that's why they were decent last year. And now he's in his second year after transferring from Virginia Tech. That really helps. I mean, at every level, quarterback is so important. I think I was one of those people that always thought that quarterback was a little overrated as far as their impact. But now with teams spreading the ball so much and throwing the ball so much that if you're not good at the quarterback position, I don't know how you can win. So they finally got a quarterback. So last year we had a chance to go. Me and you had the opportunity to go to a playoff game with the Bengals when they played the Titans last year, which was a whole lot of fun. It was one of the most exciting experiences ever. It was just weird. It was like living in the Tennessee area. All the Titans fans was giving me the blues all week, and to see as many Cincinnati Bengals fans that was there and how tight and crazy that game was awesome. But so knowing seeing the Bengals play last year, them making a run to the Super Bowl last year. Now they started off 0-2. We 1-2 now. Do you think we got a chance to make a run again this year with the Bengals? Be honest.
I say no, and the reason why is because I feel like the AFC East has got AFC, not the East, just the AFC's gotten even better. They got even better, and I feel like I thought the offensive line would have got a lot better, but it seems like they haven't. But at the same time, last year no one really thought they was gonna be a contender until really the playoffs. They finished regular season like 9-7.
No, they won 10-7.
10-7, which isn't bad, but I feel like they shocked a lot of people, and I feel like if they can do it again, but it's just like it was last year. It's gonna be a really tough. I mean, they have 4 tough games they had to play to even get the Super Bowl. They had to play the Raiders, they had to play the Titans and the Chiefs, and they were all close games. They were all close games. So I feel like, you got what you need. I mean, you have, especially on the perimeter and the skill position, I mean, you have talents everywhere. I mean, you have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and of course you got Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon in the backfield. I think if they can figure the offensive line out, the defense seems pretty solid. And I feel like if they can,
Okay, yeah. See my son. Yes, I will take a plate. All right.
I think if they defense seems pretty solid, I think. Okay, I'm good. I think what killed him in the first game was 4 interceptions. I think Joe Burrow had 4.
He had 5 turnovers.
5 turnovers. And I think, I mean, you can't win a game if you doing that.
And
they still had a chance. They still had a chance to win.
Yeah, they should have won.
So I feel like if they can just, do what they got to do, and the division's not easy either. I mean, having the Ravens and the Steelers ain't bad. The Browns is in. The Browns is in, but I feel like the biggest thing for them is to handle what they got to handle. I mean, they was in a close one with the Jets. It wasn't close, but it was. I feel like it was in.
They could
They,
easily be 3-0. That's the thing.
yeah,
But they easily could be 0-3. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So I feel like as long as they handle what they have to handle, they could possibly make another chance. But if they do, it's going to be like I said, a tough road, like it was last year.
So you're an offensive tackle. One thing I love about you as an offensive lineman, I think a lot of kids growing up, like they want to carry the ball, they want to touch the ball, they want to score touchdowns, or they want the glory that comes along with scoring a touchdown, or if you play defense, get sacks, interception, all that stuff. But I think when like eighth grade, like something just kicked on in your head where you love playing on the offensive line. Like you don't really talk about that. What is it about the offensive line that you love, and why is it? Why aren't you like one of these kids that wants all this glory? Because I think you could play defensive line too, but you seem to feel like your best position is offensive line. What is it about the line that you love?
That's how I love just be able to be nasty on every play. I think defensively, like on the defensive line, you're not gonna get a sack every play. Now, there's gonna be games where you get like 1, 2 tackles, maybe. But I feel like offensively, you can dominate every single snap of the play, and I feel like when you do it, you feel accomplished. And I feel like learning playing offensive line since I was a kid, like from the eighth grade, I was like, this is what I was, born to do, and I feel like just learning to love it. There's just some things. Obviously, when I was younger, I wanted to run the ball and score because it was the people that get noticed the most, and it kind of is like that now still, you know. But just learning to love the position and learning that how important, because when you're young, you don't realize how important like schools and teams and like in the NFL really value offensive linemen. They are very valued. Even though they might not get the most glory, they're very valued in the game of football. Which I feel like once I learned that, and I feel like that's where I fit best. I feel like that's where you know I fit best as a football player. I feel like I have the build, I have the strength, and you know what you said.
So, oh, you talking to me?
Yeah,
Alfredo's fine. Thank you.
and I think that is just what made me love the position. Me also playing offensive line for the most part of my life.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and start wrapping it up. But
Can I ask you some questions?
yeah, cool. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, let me think. Let me think. From the time I started playing football to now, what do you think is? I'll say, what do you think is the biggest change you've seen throughout since I started playing? Like the biggest change you see?
You talked about it a minute ago. You are far more physical and aggressive than you ever been. This is the most physical and aggressive I've ever seen you play football. Um, when you were younger, I think that and effort. I always talk to you like you need to be more physical. You need to be put more effort in. I think I probably was beat you over the head with it too much because like I see what you could have done if you would have been more physical and more aggressive because you were already doing well. You were already doing good. It's just that I felt like you could do so much more if you were more physical and aggressive. But I also learned what I've learned as a parent is that that's going to come when you feel like it, or when it's going to come for you when it's going to come for you. I think that's why I step back a little bit more because when you were younger, I'm yelling, screaming, going up and down, and all that stuff. And as you got older and older, every grade, I just kind of step back a little bit more and just let you grow into whatever you're going to be. But your physicality and your effort um, is the most apparent thing that's changed.
Okay, let me try to think of something else. Okay, I asked about when you played football. What did you? Because you played offensive line. When did you start to really love football? Because you didn't play
I didn't play organized enough.
until you was in ninth grade. So when did you start to really love football, and when did you realize that you was pretty talented at it and good at it?
So I've always loved football. I remember I just never played organized. When I was, I think, 8 or 9, my mom took me to go play for like the best little league organization in like inner city Cincinnati called the Little Red Machine. And I got cut. I got cut. Like, and not like, how do you, I don't know how you cut kids from a team, but that's what happened. And I think by getting cut, I just lost my confidence. And another thing is like, my mom wasn't into sports. And for a while, my dad wasn't really around. So I really had nobody to take me to go try to keep playing. Um, so when I got to ninth grade, I'll never forget ninth grade, that during that summer, going into ninth grade, I was bugging my mama about playing football, bugging her, bugging her, bugging her. And one day she just grabbed me, put me in the car, and took me down to the high school and said, "What he got to do to play football?" And that's how football started for me. So as far as organized, but I always played in the neighborhood like everybody else. And when I really realized I was decent, I think probably like I was my freshman year. You always like you got some talent you could play. My sophomore year, so freshman year, I started freshman and I played JV. I played freshman and JV, got a lot of playing time on JV. My sophomore year, I got some playing time. So my sophomore year is when I start feeling like I could play. I was decent. My junior year, I was like, oh, I'm all right. My senior year, I was really confident. But my confidence, like where I knew I felt like I was a dog, was my freshman year in college. That's when I was like, oh, I'm kind of cold. Because I think I was better in college than I was. I was kind of cold. And I played defensive line all through college. Right. I played offensive line and linebacker in high school for to my junior year. Then my senior year, I played offensive line and D line, but I always got more accolades on offensive line. And then when I got to college, I was like, man, I don't want to play O line. I wanted to play D line, and I kind of do. I was kind of a dog, but that's when I got more confident in myself. Now on the offensive side, the line is after college, I just wanted to keep playing football. So I played semi pro football for 4 years just because I love playing football. And I went back on the offensive side of the ball and played O line, and I was I was cold. I was a good offensive line for a semi pro dude. I was pretty good. So yeah, so that was kind of when I learned, and that's when I was, and so when I got to semi pro, I had to be self taught. So I had to teach myself. I would watch pros and stuff and on the O line and see what they did. But the one thing you ain't have to teach me is just that aggressiveness, and that's what really helped me. And my hands, I was all about if I got my hands on you, it was over. And so that was my big thing.
So you said you watch, the pros and offensive linemen. Do you think, all time, not just now, but like really resembles how the position should be played, in your opinion?
So old school tackle. If you want to learn if you want to go old school tackle play, I think two dudes are the foundation of the modern day tackle, and I think that's Anthony Munoz from the Bengals and Jackie Slater. They're like the kind of prototype of the modern day tackle. They aren't as big as the guys are, but these are athletic guys that are athletic. Um, Anthony, they emphasize the use of the hands. Because back in the day, like in the 70s and 60s and stuff, like you couldn't use your hands. Like they didn't always able to use their hands. Mm-hmm. Now when you start being able to use your hands, so I like them. Those are two dudes that I would look up to. And then like modern day, um Williams in San Francisco, that's the best tackle in football. He he might be the best tackle by the time he retires. He might be the best tackle ever. And I love Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson plays inside at the guard position the way you're supposed to. He's an absolute road grader. He's trying to pancake dudes every time. He's excellent with his hands. He has good feet. He's strong and he's athletic. A lot of people say guards are like the most unathletic people in football, but he's athletic though. He has athleticism, but he plays the position the way you're supposed to. Great hands. He finishes dudes. Like that's the big thing I feel like I've seen in you this year is your finishing. You want to finish blocks. Even I used to be like in high school, I used to be this dude. I used to block, engage, and then I'm looking for the running back, right? Or I'm looking for where the back is. And then when I got to the semi-pro level, I was watching when I would watch pros, they finish their blocks. You want to know how good the running back did? You just find out if he's in front of you or if you hear the crowd go crazy. That's all you need to worry about. Don't find him. Do what you're supposed to do. Let him find you and do his thing.
Yeah.
So those are the modern guys I like. But there's a lot of dudes like Jason Peters is a great offensive tackle. It's just a lot. But the two guys in the league now is Williams out in San Francisco and Quentin Nelson are my two favorite offensive linemen in the league now. And Anthony Munoz and Jackie Slater are probably the two dudes I like from back in the day.
Yeah, that was a big thing when I was playing. I used to do a lot, just blocking. Always look behind me, looking for the running back and stuff like that. And you can't do that because sometimes you do makes a play, and you don't want to be in react mode. You want to be able to, do what you got to do, and make sure you get your stuff right. I think I got one more question. Outside of the Bengals, who's like a team? Because everyone has a team they like, right, or players they like that they kind of root for. Who's like that team? Like for me, I like Tennessee, but I love the players that go to Alabama for some reason. I just like all of them. Like the receivers, I went there. I like Bryce Young a lot, even though I'm a Tennessee fan. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Tennessee playing Alabama, I want Tennessee to win. But who's like your team like that way?
So NFL wise, I don't root for nobody else. But my favorite player in the league is Lamar Jackson. Lamar has been my favorite player in the league since his rookie year because I just like the dude. Mm-hmm. I like the dude. Lamar, I feel like carries him. So, and I hate to bring it in like this. Like, I think one of the reasons people don't like Lamar is not just that he's a black quarterback. Lamar is very culturally inner city black. He's black. His blackness it comes off of him from the way he talks, the way he wears his hair, the way he just carries himself. I like that because not only does he do that, but Lamar has all the intangibles they say they want in a quarterback, but don't recognize it in him. He's an excellent leader. Every year he's been in the league, he's gotten better at something. So every year he obviously goes into the offseason and says, I'm not good at this. I need to get better at that. So he improves every year. He's a dude that loves football, obviously. He don't get in trouble. You don't see him doing anything. He seems like he's very interlocked with his community back in Florida and in Baltimore. His teammates obviously love him. The organization loves him, even though they're not paying him. That's an economic thing. But I know that Harbaugh, he saved Harbaugh's job his first rookie year. Mm-hmm. If he don't ball like he did at the end of that year, Jim Harbaugh was getting fired because they were not a good football team until he took over that team. So I love everything about Lamar, and I've liked Lamar since his sophomore year when he won the Heisman. I actually heard about him his freshman year as I watched him play a couple times, but I really like the kid, the person that Lamar seems to be off the field and on the field. And from a football standpoint, dude is just out cold. And of course, because I live in Clarksville, which is Nashville area, I follow the Titans. You know what I'm saying? I follow Titans. I think Derrick Henry's the best running back in the league. He does some absolutely craziness. So I follow the Titans because of the proximity. But outside of that, I'm who they 100%. You know what I'm saying? I just care about the Bengals. I've been a Bengals fan all my life. I remember in high school, I used to wear in practice this torn up David Fulcher jersey. I used to want to be David Fulcher. Um, and as far as Tennessee goes, I used to have Tennessee starter jackets, Tennessee starter coats. I love Tennessee. I used to get clown for wearing that bright orange all the time. So those are my teams. On a college standpoint, I also follow University of Cincinnati. I mean,
You're right. Yeah.
I I sit back and I just pray one day that you just get that letter. It would be awesome if you could go to University. Since I ain't gonna lie, if this whole D1 thing happens, I really hope. I won't lie that if there was any school in America that I want you to go to, even more than Tennessee, it would be Cincinnati for two reasons. I feel like they're a rising program, um, and the proximity of family. You know, you're only 4 hours away from here, um, and you would have plenty of family there that when you had to make that transition. So I'm sitting around hoping that's the one. You know, you obviously it's your choice. I'm gonna be there for games regardless of where you try to go. If it's D1, D2, whatever it is, I'm gonna support you. But if that Cincinnati offer comes and you choose to go there, I would be floating on water, and a lot of your family would be doing the same. All right, more questions?
Yeah, let me think. I'm trying. Okay, I've never really talked to you about like specific football games that you've played. What's like some of your favorite football memories ever that you've made?
Okay.
Because I got a couple. I'll give like one. I think my favorite game that I played in middle school was the game that we was losing by like 20 points and we came back and won. That was one of the that was one of the favorite games I've ever played before.
Portland
West.
Yeah.
It was one of the favorite games I ever played. When we played Beach my 8th grade year, the first game,
Y'all beat 'em,
that was one of my favorite games ever. Yes, like something like that.
Whew, so for me, let's start. I'll give high school. Let's see what's my favorite game in high school. I think my favorite game in high school. Sheesh, there was a lot. It would probably be one of the games my senior year. It was two of them. So Huber Heights, Wayne. My senior years, our second game of the year, they were one of the best teams in the state. We went up to Huber Heights, and our old coach from the year before, his brother was a head coach at Huber Heights. And if I recall, our old coach was on the sideline from the game, and we beat the brakes off of them. So it felt good to just show our old coach, like, bro, you had all this talent and you couldn't do nothing with it, and we came up here and spanked. And then my last game of high school, we played this team called Woodward. And Woodward, I happen to live in the same neighborhood. So I didn't go to school in my neighborhood. My last 2 years, I lived in a area called Roseline. And but Woodward was in that area, but I went to school at Withrow, and so I didn't know these guys. I didn't hang out in my neighborhood, but they had beat us on some bull the year before. In my senior year, we cracked them. So that was a big one. In college, probably we played a team called Capital, who wasn't very good, but my junior year we played them, and I got off on that game. I had a couple sacks in that game, and they weren't very good. But my junior year, no, my sophomore year, and we had a good game. It was I think the week after my boy Alonzo had got hurt, so I was trying to ball for him. And then it wasn't my favorite game, but it was funny. It was a funny thing. So we had a running back, this dude named Jeff Brock, and he wanted to. We going into our last game, and he needed like 300 some yards to become the school's all-time leading rusher. That's a lot of yards. That's a lot to ask.
Last game he had a chance.
Last game our season, our senior year, and I was going to him before the game, like, bro, you gonna break that record? Like, and he was like, I'm gonna try. And he went out there, game pretty much over. He needed like I'm just gonna say like 50 yards to get it. Game's over. So they're just gonna give him the ball to see how many yards he can get. And his last carry of his college career, he bust like 60 something. He came to school all-time leading rusher on the last carry. So that was a cool thing. And then in semi-pro, I would say my last year semi-pro, I went back. I played for a different team and went and played on the defensive line. And um, I don't really have a game, but that last season, it was the only season of my life in the regular season we went undefeated. So that whole season was fun. Your mom was pregnant with you, so I knew I was done with football after that. So that was fun. So that was fun. So it was a season more than a season more, and that's the least amount. Like I had started. I was an offensive lineman on the team I was before I started. I was a leader and everything, and I was on that. I came to that team. The team was fully very, very talented. I started most of the season on the D line, but we had a lot of dudes, so I rotated in and out. But it's the most fun I ever had playing football because it was on a good team and went undefeated.
I got one last question. So, what kind of football player were you on the field? Like, you got guys like trash talkers. You got guys that like me. I'm not a trash talker, but I'll talk if I'm getting talked to. You know what I mean? You got guys who play a little dirty, guys who. So, like, what kind of football player was you on the field that people might not notice?
So in high school, because in high school, I think it was I played in high school with some really good dudes that could really play. So I wasn't one of like the front line guy. I was like front line guy. So I didn't really talk that much in high school. I talked a little bit here and there. I didn't really talk. Then when I got to college, for some reason, I just started talking. Mm-hmm. And so I was a pretty good talker. When I play semi-pro football, I talk all the time. I ain't never shut up. I never shut up. I'm always talking. I'm talking trash. And I'm on the offensive line most of the time. I'm talking trash. If I pancake you, I'm talking trash. I'm a borderline dirty too. Like I play to the echo of the whistle. If you stood by the pile and you was on the other team, I'm cracking you. And after I do it, I'm talking. I never shut up. I never shut up. I always talking. I remember after I left the one team I played for 3 years, I go to another team and we play my old team. I'm playing D-line, I get a sack, and I'm yelling at my old team's coaching staff the whole time. I'm yelling at everybody. I'm talking crazy. I talked a lot. I talked shit from whistle to whistle when I played semi-pro. But I wasn't like that growing up in high school. I talked a little bit, but I played with dudes that talk, so I ain't have to talk. Yeah. So I was definitely a talker when I got to semi-pro. I talked, and it never left me. I talk. If I'm doing anything competitive, I'm going to talk the whole time.
All right. I talk a little bit. We have our moments in games where we.
Sometimes y'all talk too much.
Yeah, we do. We. I don't think the game has passed where we haven't.
I have not had at least one person foul for somebody talking.
But it's happening. And that's what makes the sport fun,
right?
In a way, I feel like, as long as it's not nothing out of pocket or crazy that you're saying, I feel like trash talk is what makes the sport fun. Yeah. But yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Cool. Well, thank you again. Thanks to Yusef mom and his stepdad Eric for letting us use their back patio area for this in the car with my people, even though we're in the car. Mm-hmm. I just want to say as always, I'm really proud of how far you've come. You're having a good season, and I hope it just we talk. I send you texts all the time. Get better every week. You never stay the same. You either get worse or you get better. So I feel like you've gotten better week to week. You're doing a good job. You're playing at a high level. You just got to keep taking it up another level. And like I've been saying, I'm not just saying I think you guys can win a state championship. I believe it 100%. You guys have all the talent. You've got a great group of seniors that are leading you guys right now. Coaching staff is doing a good job with you guys. I don't see why you guys shouldn't shoot to finish the regular season with 5 wins in the regular season, 9-1, and then hit the playoffs and just run through folks. I think with the win last week, you guys guaranteed you guys will play your first 3. I think it's your first 3 with the RPI. You guys probably will play your first 3 playoff games at home or something like that. So as long as you take care of your business here in district, which you guys should. You guys start the second half of the season against Marshall County at home on Friday at 7:00. As usual, I'll be there. I'll be traveling the roads to come see you. I'm up and down the road to see you play. I love seeing you play, and I love seeing you playing with this team. So keep it up. Keep getting better every week. I love you.
Yes, sir.
Let's go get this state championship.
Yes, sir.
Peace.